Welcome to Chasing Time. I'm Tim Lewis, and today I'm chasing time with Sherman Brewer, Sailmaker in East Boothbay, Maine. Welcome to my show, Sherman.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. So I thought we'd start by looking back at your early years on Southport Island and those early years of sailing. What can you tell us?
Grew up lobstering and started sailing when I was 9 at the Southport Yacht Club in the turnabouts, and sailed there up through the beginning of high school, and then started on schooners around that time.
Wow. So you were used to the sea.
Yep. On the water pretty much every day, all summer.
Wow. I see you were 15 when you did an ocean classroom on the schooner Harvey Gamage. What was that like?
That was my first taste of, leaving home for a long time and sailing a schooner or anything like that. So it was a big learning curve and definitely got homesick at times, but it's kind of type 2 fun. When you look back on it, the best thing you ever did. So,
where were you sailing?
We got on the ship in St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and then went down through the islands as far as Trinidad, and then all the way back up to Penobscot Bay, and we got done in Portland.
Wow. And how many days was that?
It was 4 months.
4 months? Wow. Wow. So that initiates you to sailing, all right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Is that a fond memory?
Oh yeah. Yep. Stuff I learned there, it's all kind of tied in through the rest of my work, so got me started.
Get you started. I see at age 16, while in high school, you started working with Nat Wilson at his business, the Sailmaker in East Boothbay. Can you give us some details?
Yeah, so I got off the Harvey Gamage and definitely kind of would rather be back on a boat than in class maybe. So Mr. Roy at the high school, who ran the work study program, said I could do a work study, and they said I could either go to the shipyard or the sail loft, and I said the sail loft. And I've been here ever since.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
What year did you start working full-time with Nat?
I started working full-time, I guess, after college, so 2018, and then in the summer, for the next couple of summers, I still was on different ships and stuff, and then I'd come work the rest of the year, and then pretty much since the pandemic, I was here all the time.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Can you highlight the process of making sails? And where do you buy the fabric for making sails?
Well, the process, as I've learned it from Nat, there's kind of several different stages that are true for all sails. You have the layout, when you draw the sail on the floor of the loft with chalk lines and stuff, and you cut the panels of the cloth, and then we call that first cut. And then you got to do seaming, so you're going to seam all the panels together to make one big sail. Then you have second cut, which is when you define the edges and the corners of the sail and reinforcements. And once you're done with second cut, you have machine work, which is finishing up, additional cloth on the sail and sewing the edges down. And then from there, it's on to handwork, which is rings and corners and roping the edge of the sail.
Wow, so that's a tedious procedure, isn't it?
It's not really tedious, but it's just kind of a order of operations that makes it go smoothly.
So you work in a system.
Yeah. Every sail goes through that same system. Mm-hmm. But most of the cloth I get comes from southern New England.
Oh, really?
Yep. Most of the cloth I use. Some I get from Europe from time to time, but most of it's manufactured in the U.S.
Is it different weights of the cloth?
No, I mean, every sail's different, so for what it's doing and what type of sail it is kind of determines the weight of the cloth. A small jib for a small sloop is going to be a pretty lightweight cloth.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it all depends on the project.
What's the largest sail you've put together?
The largest sail I did was the mainsail for the Ernestina Morrissey, which was rebuilt here in the harbor, and that mainsail is over 2,500 square feet.
Wow.
And it fills the YMCA gym, because I took it there to double check the measurements.
Wow.
Yeah.
Boy, that's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Big sale, but same order of operations, so it goes pretty smoothly. It's
Where is the Ernestine now? Where is she, the Ernestine?
right now she's in Gloucester, but she's going to be sailing throughout the eastern seaboard this summer they're having a big sailing ship meetups in different harbors, so she'll be in New York and Boston and
Wow.
different places.
That restoration was done at Bristol Marine.
Yep.
Yeah. One of my shows, I interviewed Dennis Gunderson, and he was talking about the Ernestine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, different places that you get the material for making these sails. Is it mostly New England?
Mostly New England, yep. Mostly Massachusetts or Connecticut.
Yeah. You know what caught my attention here on the floor is that old Singer sewing machine over there. Do you still use that?
Oh yeah, yeah, the 7 class, that
Yeah.
big old Singer there, that's tried and true, and she never fails, so it's a straight stitch machine, so on big sails I do all the edges of the sail with that, and the patching and stuff like that.
That looks like that dates back a few years.
Yeah, yeah, that one is around 100 years old.
Is it really?
Yep.
So it was well made.
Yeah, yeah, they don't really break, so you just gotta keep them oiled up.
I see some other machines here. Can you describe some of the equipment here?
Yeah, so the different machines here all do different things. Some do straight stitch, some do zigzag. It's kind of nice to have a number of machines so you have them set up to do different weights of cloth and different threads. But a lot of them are, pretty old, but they all still work. So
Yeah.
if it isn't broken, don't fix
Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in that.
it. Yeah.
What year did you purchase the Sailmaker?
Well, I didn't. I started it under my own business. Nat closed
I
down
see.
his business, and
Okay.
yeah, and I just kind of started up under my name, but it's the same work and
Same work.
most of
Yep.
the same boats.
I see.
Yep.
Are there any vessels that you made sails for that stand out as your favorites?
My favorites are always the ships, the older ships or the restorations and stuff like that. That's where I started on boats like the Harvey Gamage, so, larger old wooden boats and stuff like that are my favorites.
Can you name a few of those?
Yeah, well, Ernestina Morrissey, the Stephen Tabor, Victory Chimes,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It's kind of all over the country. Yeah, quite a few of the windjammers here in Maine, and
Really?
several boats in Massachusetts, and yeah, kind of all over the place.
The old Victory Chimes is not doing much right now, is it?
No, she was sold, and she's down in New York City now, but I was fortunate enough to build her last sails.
Were you?
Yep.
That was a classic, too.
Yeah.
You think of that and you think of Maine.
Yep, and she wasn't even a Maine boat. But
Where was that built?
she was from Delaware.
Was it really?
Yep.
Yeah. Where do you find your customer base around America, Europe, and Asia? Is it all over?
Mostly the United States, but I've done a couple of projects that have gone to Europe, but probably mostly New England and East Coast.
I think you were speaking about a sail that was going to France.
Yep, that's actually a little small schooner that was built in Maine back in the late 1940s, Coaster 3, and she spent a lot of time on the West Coast, and then she's been in France for the last 40 years, and this year I've built 7 sails for her and building one more.
And I think you also mentioned a sail that's going to Japan.
Well, there's I got interviewed for a Japanese boating magazine, and the guy that did the interview was building a boat, and Nat happened to have some sails that never got picked up that matched the boat, so they'd been here in storage for a long time, and they're going to end up going to Japan.
Wow. How do you ship those? By air, I presume?
He's actually coming to pick them up.
Really?
Yeah.
To Boothbay, East Boothbay.
Yeah, he's coming back to Maine for some more interviews and stuff, so he's going to come get them at some point.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How do you advertise? Do you advertise in different places around the country or world?
Most of it's word of mouth, and a lot of them are customers that have, had been with Nat for a long time, and I'd worked for Nat long enough that some of the sales I made for him, I'm starting to replace now. So most of it's word of mouth, and I'm pretty active in, you know, the sailing community here in Maine. So
Word of mouth is the best.
yep,
You can't beat that.
yep.
Well, this is a great room here too. It's open and airy and lighted, and it's perfect for that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. This top floor was Nat added this floor on back in the late '70s, and but the building has kind of changed shape and grown for over the years.
Now, Sherman, originally this was called the Lincoln Street Loft. Is that right?
Well, this wasn't a sail loft until Nat.
Okay.
Nat bought the building, but
Yep.
originally,
What was it before that?
going back, it was a stable. It was a garage. The original corner of the building was a small barn that goes back to the early 1800s.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Wow. So some history.
Yeah.
So he added the top floor then.
He added the top floor, but the bottom floor was all there.
Now, I thought if you could give us some details when you were a crew member on the Brig Eye of the Wind in your time crossing the Atlantic.
Yep. So I was when I was getting sea time for my captain's license, I got a position on the brig Eye of the Wind over in Europe and sailed with her for a total of about 6 months.
Wow.
All through the North Sea down into the Mediterranean, and then later on that year I jumped back on the ship in Bermuda and helped do the crossing over to the Azores.
Wow, so that was an adventure.
Yeah, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
How many months were you doing that?
Well, going across the Atlantic only took 13 days. But when I was on her earlier that year, I was on for quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So on that sail across the Atlantic, did you encounter any storms or high waves?
Yeah. We left Bermuda. It was blowing pretty good. Had a gale for a couple of days, but she scooted right along and just put on her oil gear and tried to stay dry.
What type of schooner was that?
Well, she's a brig, so she's a two-masted square rigger.
When you mean square rigger, what does that refer to?
So a square rig vessel has a mast and then there's yards that cross it, and the sails are attached to those yards.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's a little different.
It's a little different.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And I see you've had some adventures all around Europe in your sails. Were there different vessels that you sailed on, different schooners?
No, over in Europe, that was all on Eye of the Wind.
All the time on that one?
Yep.
Yep, yep. And how long was that? What was the length?
How
of the
long is the
vessel?
boat?
Yeah.
She is around 150 feet.
Oh,
Yep.
boy, that's sizable.
Yep.
And how many crew members?
We sailed with 8, including the captain and the cook.
Boy, that's not many for a big vessel like that, though.
Well, she's all the sails are pretty small. She's got a lot of sails, but they're pretty small, so she's pretty easy to handle.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And were your job titles various titles on the ship, different duties? Or?
Yeah, I was just part of the deck crew, so. But then there was a first mate and the captain and a couple of ABs, able seamen, that were kind of the lead deck crew, and we stood watches and yeah.
Do you intend to do some more adventures sailing around Europe? Is that on your list? Or?
I don't really care where it is, but yeah.
You enjoy sailing?
Yeah.
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 And the Maine coast is perfect for that.
Yep. Maine coast is one of my favorite places to sail, but I like seeing other places, and my favorite is out of sight of land, so.
Where is that now?
Well, just not being able to see land.
Oh, I see. Right at sea.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be quite an experience when you're in the middle of the sea, seeing no land.
I mean, just you don't really feel like you're that far away.
Really?
To me. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you just keep doing the work that you got to do every day, and
Yep.
you're always kind of wondering, you know, what it's going to be like when you get there. But
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. In this Sailmaker, you've got a lot of work lined up for the next probably couple of years or so? Or?
No, not really. Not the next couple of years, but I'm going to be busy through till the fall, and the summer is usually slow time of year
Oh,
because
really?
people are out sailing.
Well, that's
so
true.
The
Yeah.
spring's usually busy in midwinter. Yep.
What do you see in the future for you and the Sailmaker?
I just want to keep doing the work I'm doing, and always getting better and trying to preserve the art of sail making and doing it what they call the old way now. But
Yeah, but that's a good way.
yeah, it's tried and true and lasted for a long time. And yeah.
Are there any more sailmakers like you here in Maine?
Yep, there's a couple, and they all started working here at some point in the past, but yeah. So.
Do you find young people, would they be interested in going into this now, or?
I haven't met any, but.
Well, I hope they do, because that tradition is a legacy for the state of Maine.
Yeah.
Sail making. And,
yeah. But
I mean,
yeah, I think, sail making kind of finds you. You don't really find sail making. Yeah.
yeah. So the length of time we'll say that one you had at the YMCA, that large sail.
Yeah.
How long was that?
That took 6 weeks to build, start to finish.
That's not long.
No, I had the sewing machines, and it's funny, doing everything by hand actually isn't that much slower. So.
Really?
Yeah, but yeah, it took about 6 weeks, and follow that order of operations, and everything goes pretty smoothly.
I'm looking on the floor here. I see a sail you've got. Looks like it's packed up to go somewhere. Where is that going?
This is a suit of sails, which means the full complement of sails for the vessel. And these ones are going to Gloucester, Massachusetts, for the schooner Thomas Lannon, who comes here for Windjammer Days.
And you're going to take that to Gloucester yourself, or?
Yep, yeah, I'm taking those down. So I got to go to Gloucester and get some measurements on a different boat. So I told him I'd bring them down for him.
Wow. Sherman, how do you measure for these sails? Do you need the sail here to take the measurements, or how do you do that?
No, not necessarily. Sometimes if I have an older sail, I can take the measurements off of that, but most boats will have a sail plan, which is kind of a blueprint of what the dimensions of the sails. And a lot of times you have to fine tune that and tweak it depending on how the boat's rigged. But also with older boats, a lot of times stuff's changed over the years. So the sail plan might have been true a long time ago, but it might be a little different now. So sometimes you just have to adjust for that.
So you have to tweak a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fabric, the material those sails are made out of, does that vary with different lengths and sizes of sails or of schooners?
Yep. So even back in the day, sails, there's different weights of sailcloth for different sails. And one vessel might have, several different sails that are all made of different weights. Primarily, they were made out of, here in Maine, like this older sail makers that made all the sails for the big ships and stuff. Those would have mostly been cotton sails. And that all came in different weights for different sails. But nowadays, I actually have done a few cotton sails, but they're not too many. But most sails now are made out of synthetic materials like Dacron, or most of the sails I build are made out of Oceanus, which is a cloth that Nat helped develop.
I see.
And it's kind of a synthetic alternative to cotton, so it doesn't absorb water, and it's very strong. So it's lighter and it's stronger. But once it's broken in, it feels and acts a lot like cotton does.
What's the lifespan of a sail?
Well, a lot of that depends on how it's taken care of, but all the sails I build are built to last. But the biggest, danger to a sail is UV damage.
Oh, from the sun?
Yep, if it's a synthetic sail, the UV damage will break down the material. So sail covers are very important for sails that aren't being used. And but a lot of my sails, I expect them to last 10 years or so, at least, for the bigger ones.
Yeah.
Some smaller sails, can't really be built quite the same way, so they might not last as long.
I see.
But yeah, I want sails to last as long as they can.
I see a wall here with stencils. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, there's about 40 years of stencils up there on the wall, and they're all the names of different sails or different boats, and they'll get, they're just labels for different sails.
I see.
Some boats will, might have, 10 or 12 sails being made for it, so they all have a certain name, so you don't want to get them mixed up.
Yeah, it's a directory then.
Yeah.
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 And some of your tools around here that I'm seeing, can you highlight what those are used for?
Yeah, so a lot of the tools in here actually go back to former sail-offs from years gone by, so it's pretty neat. A lot of the tools I use are over 100 years old, and
really,
you can't really buy them anymore. So.
And they still work?
Oh yeah, they're all just hand tools and stuff.
And you use them?
Yeah, every day. Yeah, a lot of the tools. Some of them have Nat has made himself. Or,
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't buy them off the shelf, so you got to make them.
Yeah.
And they're all for different stages of handwork, either for putting rings in sails or stuff like that.
I see.
Yep.
And this wire in back of me, is that where you drape the sails on the wire to stretch them?
Well, when I'm working on the edge of a sail, I can stretch it with a block and tackle between the two walls, and then just to get it up to working level, I have lines I can tie to that wire just to pull the sail up a little bit.
I see.
Yeah.
That can make a difference then.
Yeah, it just makes it easier. Yeah.
I see. And also I'm seeing the different types of threads that you have displayed here. What does that make a difference, the different threads on different types of sails?
Yeah, so the heavier a weight of cloth it is, the heavier a thread you want. So I have a lot of different threads for different weights of sails, and that's all polyester thread. But when I'm doing a cotton sail, I actually have to use cotton thread. So,
why is that?
Well, it just where the cotton is a lot softer, the polyester thread's a little bit, it'll kind of compress it a little bit.
See.
So you got to have the same materials so they give at the same rate and stuff like that.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yep.
Well, Maine, I think, we've got a legacy for shipbuilding and for sailmaking. So I'm glad someone like you is carrying that tradition on.
Yeah.
It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I enjoy doing it and enjoy seeing the, sails being used. And
you work alone, right?
Mostly, but from time to time I have some help on bigger projects or different stages of it.
Yeah. Sherman, is there anything you'd like to add to the interview? Did I forget anything? Or?
Not that I can think of. That's pretty much covers a lot of it.
I think we covered the bases pretty good, didn't we? Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like your view here too. I think that's a great view looking out at the Damariscotta River.
Yeah, you can't really beat it. It's a nice place to work, and summertime it's pretty busy in the river with boats going by and different things.
Yeah, no, I think that would be a view that I could get used to.
Yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah. Well, look, I think we'll close the show for now, and I want to thank you for stopping by to chat with us, and I learned a lot of things from you today.
Yeah, no problem.
And continued success with your business, the Sailmaker.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's been a real pleasure talking with you, Sherman.
Yeah, well, it's been a pleasure for me too.
And I always like to close on a positive high, and I think this one sets the setting perfect. You can't control the wind, but you can adjust the sail. I'm Tim Lewis, your host of Chasing Time and a true Boothbay Harbor native, signing off from the Sailmaker in East Boothbay, Maine. Till we meet again, my friends, stay forever young.